Good morning. This is the House Appropriations Committee. It is Thursday morning at 8:45 and on Thursday, February 6th, 2025. And we have with us folks from the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets who were wonderfully flexible and willing to come in and see us this morning, kind of at the last minute yesterday afternoon. So we really appreciate your willingness to join us. It's your first time meeting with us, and we have lots of new members, including one on the street. So we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves so you can meet everybody that's in the committee.
Good morning, Dave Iacoboni from Morrisville, and I represent the Lamoille, Washington district. Welcome.
Yes, good morning and welcome. John Kosenska from Burke, and I represent the Essex Caledonia district.
I'm Mike Nigro. I represent Bennington and Powell. Tom Stevens from Waterbury, representing the Washington Chittenden district.
Good morning, Jim Harrison for representing the communities of Mendon, Chittenden, Killington, and Pittsfield.
And I'm Robin Shy from Middlebury.
Lily from Burlington.
And we're missing Trevor Squirrel from Jericho and Underhill. I think he's at an LCAR meeting. And then Wayne, you want to jump in because that would be your seat next?
It's Wayne LaRush. I represent Highgate, Franklin, Berkshire, and Richford.
Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Mike Berwicki. I'm from the Wyndham 4 district of Putney Dummerston, and I want to say hi to Anson and thank you for all your help over the years in our needed help down there.
Hi, I'm Lynn Dickinson. I represent St. Albans Town.
So welcome again, and introduce yourselves for the record and let us know about your budget.
Well, great. Well, thank you. It's great to be with you again. Anson Tebbets, Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets, and I'll toss it to Amy.
Hi, my name's Amy Mercer. I'm the Financial Director for the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets.
I'm Nicole Dubuque. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets.
Well, great. Well, thank you for allowing us to come in and talk about our budget. I wanted to essentially maybe start with just a quick update of what we've accomplished over the last couple of years, thanks to some of the financing and investments that you have made, along with our committees and the agriculture committees as well. But just to set the stage, we've I think probably our biggest investments have been in economic development in many of your communities. I just want to give you a snapshot of where we've been, and then that will lead to where we're headed in our proposal for you. So
that's great. Thank you.
Some of the thanks to some federal funding, some one-time monies, and some base funding, we've been able to make some incredible investments in agriculture. Just to give you a snapshot, in fiscal year 24. We had a lot of granting programs, and this may be whether it's meat or maple or dairy, working lands, etc. We had about $108 million worth of requests in some of our programmings, and we were able to award about $11.4 million. 280 businesses, farms, producers received awards. And we had 1,281 applications. That's across all our sectors. So we have made some significant investments in agriculture, in our food system. If we drill down just a little further, you may recall that we invested specifically in meat, maple, and produce with a special program. We had $44 million worth of requests in that particular sector, with 500 applications, and we were only able to award about 25 projects, about $2.1 million. So we've made those investments thanks to some federal funding. Maybe some ARPA money has been in there, working its way through the system. Some one-time dollars through the our economy in Vermont is doing quite well, and then some of our base funding, mainly through our working lands program. So those are some of the investments that we've made in the past. Right now, we're going to present a budget that's not going to have a lot of bells and whistles. It's going to be a pretty straightforward funding proposal. We know that your committee and the entire legislature has some very significant issues that are before you, whether it's education, whether it's housing, whether it's public safety or whether it's affordability. So all those areas are before you, and all those areas are important to agriculture. Education, what's happening in our schools, very important to our farm community. Housing, we have many that are in the housing world in our rural areas that are looking for housing. That could be at a processing plant that's not able to get enough workers because they don't have enough housing around them for people to come and work at that job. It may be farm worker housing. Affordability, of course, very important to our farm community. Some of the stress that they've been facing over the last few years has been increases in supplies, feed, fertilizer, et cetera. So affordability is very important to them, and public safety as well. So we come to you with a budget that's pretty straightforward, with no one-time ask. Basically, it's a bare bones budget that works through some of our programs that can keep us going, knowing that you guys are going to have some significant issues that are going to address both housing, education, in public safety, and affordability. And those will all be very important to our farm community and our agriculture community, those that are making a living off the land as well. I thought I might begin with, I guess we can start with the slides, Amy, and we can start working through that. If that would be okay with you all, we'll just start working our way through it.
Yeah, I just sent a request to Aaron if you could give me sharing power.
While that's happening, I'll read our mission statement to you, and I think it's always important to be focused on what our mission is. Our mission is to facilitate, support, and encourage the growth and viability of agriculture while protecting the working landscape, human health, animal health, plant health, consumers, and the environment. So that's what we're focused on. Just about everything that is in your lives every day, we're involved in one way or another. So just some high level stuff here. Here is our general fund increase is there at $609,947. We have 6 exempt positions and 144 classified positions at the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. As a little breakdown of where our dollars go. We have some federal funding there, as you see. We have some general fund, indirects, and then special funds. That's sort of the pie that breaks out where our dollars are.
Where are your special funds? What kind of special funds do you have?
Well, the special funds, a lot of it is in our fees related to registrations of products, pesticides, fertilizers, feed, fertilizer, et cetera. That's essentially through our licensing as well. We have some special funds there. I think I've got that right, Amy.
You are correct.
And so would the lab also be in there, their lab fees?
We do
or is
have
that separate?
We do have lab fees, both internally, because we do some work for the Agency of Natural Resources,
Right.
and then we have fee for service from time to time. People would use our lab for that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who's going to walk us through the budget. And Nicole is the head of our operations at the agency. Nicole?
Yeah. So let me hope that my slideshow is going to work appropriately. All right. So to get started, I know there's a lot of new members this year. So this is just a breakdown to give you a sense of our agency. So the agency is comprised of 6 appropriations, which we have in 6 different divisions. So there's the administration division, which is where Amy and I and Anson sit. And Amy oversees the business office as well as some other functions within the administration division. Then we have food safety and consumer protection. Think dairy, meat inspection, animal health. Agricultural development, which we call Ag Dev. They have a lot of different granting programs, really focused on assisting farmers with their business functions. Public health and agricultural resource management, which we affectionately call FARM with a PH. pesticides, feed, seed, fertilizer. Vermont Agricultural and Environmental Laboratory, Vale, that is in our building in Randolph, and that consists of multiple different tenants in the building, as well as our own lab, and like Secretary Tebbett said, some folks from the Agency of Natural Resources. And then we have the Agricultural Water Quality Division. They do a lot of regulatory work, as well as work to help improve infrastructure on farms. The agency budget maintains staffing and operations to ensure main areas of focus: jobs, water quality, regulation of feed, seed, fertilizer, and pesticides, food safety, consumer protection, and then Food Safety Modernization Act, animal health, dairy, weights and measures.
So I just want to pause there because
Yep.
I was surprised to learn, and maybe not everybody knows this, the weights and measures, doesn't that include checking things out at gas stations? And what do you do there? This always surprised me.
Sure. So the weights and measures section within the Food Safety and Consumer Protection Division does a lot. So they are basically in charge of making sure that the consumer is getting what they paid for. So when you give the gas station example, right, they're going to go out and make sure that when they purchase a gallon of gas at a gas station, that it is in fact a gallon, right? Or if they're looking in a grocery store at a scale, right, where you would typically pay by weight for something, they're going to make sure that the scale is accurate. So they really have a very wide scope across Vermont to make sure that consumers are getting what they pay for.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
It just tickles me.
Okay, so fiscal year 26 total budget is 59,994,387. And then here's a breakdown similar to the pie chart that you saw already. It's 12,700,000 and change in general fund, which equates to 21%, 23,179 in special funds, and we just kind of reviewed where those special funds come from. So that's about 35% of our budget. 23,986,837 in federal funds in various different departments from different federal funding streams. So that makes about 40% of our budget. And then we have 2.2 million in interdepartmental transfer funds. So that's about 4%, where we're doing kind of work for other agencies and such. Areas of change to note is that we had a net increase over fiscal year 25, about 8%, 4.4 million. And then to break down that net increase, we have 5% in general fund, 609,000, 563,000 in special funds, 2.6 million in federal funds, and 632,000 in interdepartmental transfer.
So I see that federal funds are decreasing. Is that because the ARPA and those programs are ending, or is there some other reason?
It's a little bit nuanced, but I'll turn to Amy if you have some main points that you want to share.
I think the biggest change in federal funds is due to the Dairy Business Innovation Center. They're lowering their contract and grant amount for this year.
Okay. And have you guys been impacted by the new administration in Washington yet, or are you concerned that it might impact your ability to do your work?
Right now, we have not heard of any substantial change. And of course, we're monitoring that closely.
Yeah.
One of the areas that, we're really, the Northeast Dairy Business Innovation Center is really important to Vermont in the Northeast. We believe that funding is secure. It needs to be renewed in the Farm Bill. If the Farm Bill can be passed in Congress, that will be important. But right now, I think we're doing our research. We're monitoring to make sure that we're able to draw down the federal funds. But I think we've run through various programs, and we seem to be in an okay space right now. But we are just closely monitoring, like I think everyone, what's happening in Washington.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so some areas of increase, and unless you want me to, I won't go through line by line on this.
That's fine.
Okay, because
You don't need to, right? We've seen a lot of these look like they're standard across every agency and department.
Yes, they are. So the first several lines just go through our increases that we received as an agency for the various internal service fees and benefits within state government. And then the bottom two lines talk about an increase that we have in the Dairy Business Innovation Center grant in federal funds, and then also 450,000 increase in Lake Champlain Basin Program grants, which is the interdepartmental transfer funds.
Is that clean water related? The Lake
Yes.
Champlain Basin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
All right. And then a couple areas of decrease here, 110,000 to the state clean water fund grants, 112,000 reduction to natural resource conservation grants, and 113,000 fee for space internal service fee. So the fee for space would have been a decrease determined by BGS. And then the clean water fund grant would have been part of the clean water budget. Yes. Questions?
Well, I'm wondering why the two grant lines are decreasing.
The reduction to the NRCC grants.
Both of them, why, they're both decreasing, and I'm just wondering why.
Yeah, I can answer. So the process that goes through the Clean Water Board, they propose a budget, and then that's forwarded to the administration, and then you folks act. So the Clean Water Board has determined our funding source for this year.
Okay.
I think it's on a footnote of the council, a very important, and we value their partnership. It's a little those are more in the details there. We distribute, and Amy, maybe you can give me the correct amount. It's well over $5 million in grants to the council, in grants to them to help them with their programming. This is a reduction, basically, in their their base funding and so forth. But we are supplying and funding them to, I think, over $5 million, right, Amy? Maybe more than that now.
It's over 7.
Oh, it's over 7 now. I'm thinking of last year's. So they are getting money from us. This is essentially for their, their base budget. That helps with staffing, et cetera.
And they don't have a problem with the staffing, they're sufficiently staffed to do their work?
Well, I think, I'll let them speak. I think that they're going through a transition now. Their executive director, I think they're searching for a new one, and they're trying to. It's an interesting structure that they have. It's not really state funding. It's not really a state agency or division, but they received a tremendous amount of money that goes through our budget. They're not really independent of us because of how the budget goes through our system. But I think they would say that they want this extra funding to help with their programming. But our focus has been on making sure they're funded through their grants, and those grants get to the farm community to help with conservation projects.
Great.
And
Rep.
this
Squirrel has a question on this one, so sorry.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm coming in late to this conversation. Secretary Tebbets, didn't we add 100,000 to this line last year in base?
You did.
Okay, and we're taking 112 out again?
That's correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes. Go ahead,
Just
Wayne.
my question, I think you said earlier in the presentation that you had $108 million of money that you only awarded 11.4. Is this part of that? I mean, are you effective in getting grants out? Is there any bottleneck in the system that could be fixed?
You're talking about the economic development grants?
Yeah, I'm talking in general over all the grants.
Yeah. So. We have no challenges getting the money out. I would just say that we're overprescribed of people wanting some of our economic development money. For example, meat, maple, and produce. We had $44 million worth of requests, and we had 2.2 $2.1 million we were able to get out. I think we're able to process and get the money out. It's just been, in many ways, we were surprised at the level of interest and how much need was out there and how much funding. But we did receive a lot of great information of where the needs are, particularly in the maple industry, the tremendous innovation and uses of technology and the infrastructure needs to continue to move maple along. We were just shocked at the interest of that, but we were able to get the money out efficiently, quickly, and process it. I think it's just we were overprescribed for the amount of money that we did have. But we were fortunate even to have that amount of money over the last few years, both from the legislature and some federal funds.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay. So moving into position additions and movement, we have maintained 150 positions. We have not gone up, but I just wanted to break down for you where changes have happened. So we had 2 limited service positions where staff had moved on into classified positions, and we were able to return those. And then we brought on 2 new limited service positions that were for RFSI, Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Grants through USDA. And then also we had a staff attorney who moved on, and we were able to ask the position pool for a classified internal position to replace that, which we have done. So we've stayed net neutral on positions.
And so you don't need an attorney?
We have one. It's just in a classified position at this point.
Okay. Okay.
So the compliance policy and enforcement manager instead of a staff attorney 1 is what we have.
Okay. So you didn't need that attorney position is what I'm hearing, because you didn't replace it with another attorney.
Yes and no, because the person in the position is an attorney.
Oh, he's an attorney. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good. All right, thank you.
Okay. This is just a list of our kind of high profile budget items that we typically get questions on. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to move you out of the way so I can see all my numbers here. So we have the fair stipend, 110,000, farm to plate, 235,000. We just talked about the National Natural Resource Conservation Council, which is 500,000, farm to school, 500,000, local food grants at 30,000, and working lands at a base of 1 million.
Representative Stevens has a question.
So are these part of base?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so there's folks upstairs who were talking about the Cash for Crops program. Is that going to show up in this budget? I think those are on a one-time list.
No, they're not.
Yep.
Okay, and then so when something like these programs are in base, and Secretary, we have you and I and your team have an appointment tomorrow, and I'll probably ask deeper questions. But just in terms of when these show up on the base, do they increase for inflation purposes, or do they stay the same until there's a decision to increase or decrease?
I think they stay the same from year to year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's continue.
Okay. Okay, so we move into the crosswalk overview, and this is for the administration division. We have not had any notable changes other than the standard increases to salary and benefits that we discussed earlier in the presentation for this division.
Great. Okay.
For food safety consumer protection, essentially the same. So the division has had standard increases to salary and benefits and no other notable changes.
Okay.
Ag Dev, Agricultural Development. So contractual and third-party services, we had an increase in budget for Dairy Business Innovation Center grants by 1.7 million. We had a decrease in fee-for-space cost in the amount of 63,000, and that's for the Vermont building at the Big E in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Has that decreased before? I mean, I feel like this is the first year I've ever seen fee for space go down. Usually we see them going up a lot.
I agree. I have not seen additional decreases, but I think that there were some changes in kind of the calculation of staff and whatnot down there.
I don't know if that relates to fee increases for vendors at the Big E.
Oh.
Because there have been fee increases both last year and coming up this year.
Ah. Did you hear, Mike?
Yeah. Amy, do you have any insight on that?
The fee for space is just one portion of the Big E costs. So we also have staff that attend the fair as well that operate the building. So I know that Ag Dev has instituted an increase in the percentage that's building up, but it had remained at the same rate for, I don't know, many years that I'm aware of, same percentage of commission.
I think this decrease is probably related to the maintenance and how they're staffing the building during the fair and throughout the year and checking on it through the years. I think that is the main reason for the decrease, is a new calculation of how they're doing that for the maintenance and the upkeep and the operations of the building. And then we do have, our side of it is we have staff members that help with recruitment, also, the build up, dealing with helping the vendors during the fair itself. So there's that side of it. And then there's the other one that will be along the way, which is in the capital budget. There'll be some requests in the capital budget that will address some of the needs of that building, which is approaching 100 years old, but it needs some renovations. And our hope is to have it renovated by the anniversary of the 100 years, which is 2029. But that's working its way through the capital bill.
I see. And Rep. Stevens has a question.
No, that was my question. Is like, didn't we see $600,000 or so put forward, and that's in the capital bill? So thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
We're actually testifying on that later today. Then USDA Organic Cost Share Program increased by 50,000, and we received a $300,000 federal award in Ag Dev for local food systems and school grants.
Great.
Okay, just some highlights of some Ag Dev programs. So this is the Working Lands Enterprise Initiative. It just breaks down the budget, general fund, and then other funds that were put into the fiscal year 25 budget. But I think it's really important to highlight the cumulative program impact here. So invested 18.8 million in 555 farm, food, and forestry projects, leveraged an additional 30.9 million in matching funds. Investments have been made across all 14 counties. Over 540 new jobs have been created, more than 92 million generated in sales by grantee businesses, and over 24,985 acres kept working.
So this is excellent. I'm glad to see that you've got some measurements and you've had success, which I was actually on the first Working Lands board back in 2012 for a few years until I got elected to the legislature and couldn't be on the board anymore. So this is a personal interest to mine. But what I have always liked is that they have had measures and markers of success so that you can see that. And I'm wondering if with your other programs that you talked about earlier on, the maple, meat, and produce grants and all those things, what sort of tracking and measuring for success are you doing in those programs?
We have some different measures, and honestly, I don't have them in front of me. I don't know, Secretary Tebbetts, if you know more about how they've kind of been measuring those, but we can definitely follow up with information from Ag Dev.
Yeah, we do have, and we haven't made it public yet, but we had a meeting yesterday. We have a really internal dashboard that really talks about the investments we've made. And at some point, if we were still tweaking it a little bit, but it would be maybe get that before you, and it dives down into the details of the impacts and so forth, and
Yeah.
where the money's being spent. But it's really a nice program that really illustrates the investments, and it also gives us information of where maybe we need to make more investments as well.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful because we really want to be sure that, as you know, that the investments we're making, are they worth the money that we're spending on the investments? So what's the impact, not just the numbers of, how many dollars went out, but what were the results of those dollars going out? So that would be great. Rep. Stevens is your liaison, so I'm sure you guys can talk about that as well.
We'll follow up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to some slides about the USDA Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives. And we have the Northeast Dairy Business Innovation Center administered out of Vermont, out of the Agricultural Development Division at our agency, and it serves an 11-state region. So Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont. And it's based in Vermont, like I just said. So the amount awarded for projects extending through 2027 is $53 million. To talk about the impacts in Vermont specifically, as of December 1st, 2024, they've awarded over $11.6 million to Vermont Dairy. That's 125 grants and contracts awarded. And the average funding award is about $92,000, but the awards do range in size from $10,000 to $1 million, depending on the project. This is some application stats from around the 11 states that we serve. So there's over 1,000 applications received, 367 awarded. So that's a 36% award rate. And like I said, the average grant is $92,000 and the grants range from $10,000 to $1 million. Great. Then on to public health and ag resource management. Again, pretty standard here, regular standard increases in salary and benefits. And then we do have an additional contractual obligation with UVM Extension for the Pesticide Education Safety Program grant, which is $35,000. And that is to align with our updated safety and certification training plan, which was approved by the EPA. No notable other changes in this division. And then we move to the lab. So Vermont Agriculture and Environmental Lab, same thing. We've seen the standard increases, and we did have a decrease in fee for space there by $59,000.
And where did the increased fees show up for this? Because we did hear from ANR during budget adjustment, we had to increase their budget because there were fees related to the lab. Where did the fees show up for you?
So the increased fees between us and ANR would be outlined in an MOU that we have. But I'm looking, Amy, can you point to me if it's on here or if there's another part of the budget I should be showing?
No, it shows in the special fund category in that column. So it's really an adjustment in the special funds that are paying for these expenditures. So in the past, we may have supplemented those expenditures with pesticide special funds instead of lab revenue special funds.
Okay, so they could be spread across your whole department, agency, not just here. Okay.
Not the lab revenue funds, no.
Okay.
They are specific to the lab.
Yeah, okay.
To support the lab.
Right, and this is our water.
Oh, question from Rep. Dickinson.
Yeah, thank you. Would that be like an interdepartmental transfer from ag to ANR to cover, like we'd be taking it, or is that some, like if you take it out of the special fund for you and then you send it over to them, like a double entry type thing?
I'm looking to Amy so that
That-
she can articulate it better than I can.
Yeah, those do not come through as interdepartmental transfer funds. Those actually are processed as revenue into the special fund for lab revenue. So it doesn't hit the same fund as other MOUs hit.
So maybe we could explain so someone, they go out and do a water quality test, right? So ANR has to go out and they're testing the lakes and ponds. That sample comes into our lab and it's processed and we do that and we charge a fee for that. I think I've got that right, Amy?
Correct.
Yeah.
We bill them quarterly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then you distribute that to the NANR piece, even though it comes into agriculture.
Can you repeat your question?
Okay.
I'm trying.
My understanding from what I am hearing is that you guys in agriculture are responsible for the lab and keep track of the special funds and all of the stuff that goes on there. You share it with ANR and they do tests and a variety of things that is attributable to their budget. So when the payment, when the work is done, it's ANR sends the bill to you, you pay it and transfer the money back to ANR. Sorry if I'm confusing you.
That's okay. No, it's actually the opposite. So
They charge ANR.
we bill ANR for all of the testing to help, and that revenue goes to support all of the costs of the lab, which is all of the folks that are staffed at the lab, all of the supplies for the testing, and the fee for space for the lab.
But it's not in your crosswalk.
It'll
show up in this, it'll be in your special fund, right? That's, if we look at this, if we look at your special fund separately, this is really your regular budget, but if we dove into your special fund, it would be there.
Okay, I get it. Thank
Yes.
you.
You're welcome.
It might be important to note too that the costs of it, we're not really bringing in more money than what it costs to actually do the test.
Right. Net neutral.
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair.
Yes, Rep. LaRouche.
So, are you paying that fee for space to BGS? Who receives the fee? BGS is getting the fee for space.
Yes.
You're not actually using less space.
No.
And you got a new lab, so I would expect, how's that being paid? That was all paid for up front, so. Okay, so those fees to ANR, that's the interagency transfer going on there, right? When you true that up,
For the lab fees?
right?
So the lab fees, like Amy was saying, end up going into our special fund when we collect that fee. And that then we use to balance our budget and to pay for the cost of actually doing the test and having the staff.
But ANR gets that money to you through a interagency transfer that goes into that fund.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Clean water.
All right. So in the water quality division, the budget has seen standard increases to salary and benefits. Like we talked about, we decreased the Natural Resources Conservation Council grants by $112,000, decrease of $100,000 to the State Clean Water Fund grants, which came through the Clean Water Board proposal for budget, and Lake Champlain Basin Program grants increased by $450,000, which is MOU with DEC. Increase of $90,000 in federal funding for ADS application support contracts for NRCS and RCPP.
And RCPP, what does that mean? Regional? No, I don't know. I shouldn't say. I don't know.
Before I mess up the acronym, I'm going to look it up for you. I should know this off the top of my head, though.
I think it's Regional Conservation Partnership Program.
Yeah.
There you go.
That works.
Okay, and then I am going to move into the programmatic performance measures.
Great.
Okay, so For administration of Act 250, our typical measures are listed here. So the number of projects under review, 93, on-site mitigation acreage, 167, off-site mitigation acreage warranted, 755, and you'll see a huge bump there. And then off-site mitigation fees, you'll see also a large bump from the 278,000 of 2023 to 2.1 million, which this is not within our control. This is just the fact that construction is booming.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, Rep. Kosenska.
Nicole, John Kosenska, what's the difference between on-site mitigation and off-site mitigation?
I don't know all of the details of that. I'm going to look to Secretary Tebbets if he has a quick explanation. Otherwise, I can get more information for you.
Yeah, and I think if I have it correctly, so say you've got a project and it may be impacting ag soils. There's a formula that you could do it within the footprint of the construction project, or maybe there's a way to do it offsite to help with mitigation as well. So you see within this graph, you can see that we are getting, as we've developed more housing and more, you can see that our agency is reviewing many more Act 250 applications. And this money does not, we do all this and there's a formula that's set in stone, and we kind of, that's the way it is. But you can see that these dollars are going to Vermont Housing Conservation Board because of these mitigation fees. And you can see it was quite an increase from 23 to 24, and that is probably reflective of our need and the sort of the emphasis on trying to build more housing throughout Vermont. So you're seeing that there. But that's sort of the form. You can do it either on site within the footprint, or you can work on a mitigation plan that's off-site of the project as well.
Thank you.
Rep. Dickinson?
Is this mitigation, is that like a land swap? I will go and develop over here and I will conserve land somewhere else?
I believe that's the case, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Rep. LaRouche has a question too. I saw it now this time, Wayne. Are you there?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm here. 3-acre rules intersecting here anywheres?
I don't believe so. You're talking about the water quality 3-acre stormwater rule.
That's correct. Yes.
I don't believe that's involved in this at all. No.
Thanks.
Great. Let's continue then. Thank you.
All right, so this is for the Vermont Produce Program within Ag Dev. So the number of farms with produce sales enrolled and verified in the Vermont Produce Portal has gone up slightly in 2024 to 704 from 663 last year. And the total number of support services provided to Vermont produce farms is 210 this year.
So I wonder, do you take that a step further and say, so you gave them support services, but what was the result of them getting those support services? Are they more profitable, or they have more jobs, sales? What's the result?
Thank you for asking that question. So what we are working on right now behind the scenes is actually updating our performance measures to be more reflective of what you're asking. I can certainly ask Ag Dev to provide me some like preliminary information of out of the 704, the 210, where folks landed. But yes, that's a great question, and we're working on that.
Right, because it's helpful to know, what success really means and how they're thinking about success. So great, thank you.
Okay, Working Lands Initiative. And again, I'm going to say in advance that we are working on updated performance measures for this as well. I actually kind of got a little bit of a preview of where they're going. But what we have right now is the number of jobs created, 545, the total increase in net income. As you'll see, the number stayed the same for 2023 and 2024 because it was net neutral. We have not seen an increase from 23 to 24. And average percentage increase in product output is 21%. Dairy Business Innovation Center. The number that experienced increased sales because of marketing, 46. Number of new and or existing delivery systems, access points reached 1,645. So that's a increase from last year. Number of farmers who have learned new management strategies is 1,427, which is a very large jump. And that's because we've been bringing on new strategies and kind of adding new parts to the program. So that's why there's a big jump there. And then the percentage of participants that express satisfaction and positive outlook for the future of their business, 99% in 24.
That's good. Excellent. It's good to see the jump about in the management strategies, I think.
I agree. All right, now we're moving into food safety, consumer protection, meat inspection specifically. We are always increasing number of inspections and compliance activities. We did increase our number of meat inspectors a few years ago to be able to do this, but otherwise pretty much status quo. We're doing as much as we can in that division as far as inspections completed and compliance activities. Dairy inspection, also fairly status quo. The number of license and or registrations has been maintained roughly the same. We've got about 32 more. Number of inspections completed, 3,792, a couple more than the year before. And then number of compliance activities, we're at 20 for 2024. Animal health. Same thing, number of licenses and registrations were at 106 from 114 in 2023. Number of inspections completed from 68 to 73, and number of compliance activities went from 14 to 9, which can be variable depending on kind of what we have as far as complaints coming in and things like that. Weights and measures. Number of license and or registrations went up a little bit, about 500. Number of inspections completed, this went up quite a bit to 13,685 from 11,750 in 2023. And then the number of compliance activities, 105, went up to 133 in 2024. Maple, number of licenses went up a couple. Number of inspections completed went down a few, and the number of compliance activities went down a few this year. So pretty much status quo though for that program.
So with licenses and registrations, are these new people entering the maple field, or is this renewals of licenses or registrations?
So it's probably a combination of renewals and additions. So I know last year when we talked about the number of licensees for maple, there were 28 packers, so like large scale folks that are actually packaging and selling out syrup commercially. And it looks like now there's 30.
Okay.
Right. Cool. Country of origin labeling. This is status quo. We've had the same number of licensees in 23 and 24. Produce safety inspection program. We've been working on this program, and the number of produce farms verified in inventory has gone up quite a bit. From 650 to 704, number of inspections completed, 17, number of consumer complaints resolved. We didn't have any in 2024, which is not a bad thing. And the number of compliance activities beyond level of field staff is 7. Eggs. So this is a small one for us, but we did have 4 compliance activities in 2024 and 2 consumer complaints that were resolved through our staff.
I guess people complain about the price of eggs, they don't go to you.
No.
It's a hot topic right now.
I know.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Rep.
Okay, what about the bird flu? I mean, this is something that certainly could affect eggs, certainly could affect apparently some cattle, some dairy farms.
And this division has been doing a lot of work in this area. Just to go back on the bird flu, the strain that's related to birds and chickens and turkeys and poultry, has been, we've had, I think over the last couple of years, we've had, I think we're up to 5 confirmed cases, and essentially it's backyard flocks. We haven't had any commercial cases across the country. Millions of birds have been euthanized because of this disease in some of the, the bigger states. The other hot topic now, there's another strain it's gone into dairy cattle. Fortunately, the Northeast has not had any of this. It has not been in the Northeast, has not been in New York, not in Vermont, not in Pennsylvania. I think the closest states, Ohio and North Carolina. But big states that are big dairy states, California is the biggest dairy state in the United States. They have numerous cases, which is, they've had to, some animals have had to be sent to slaughter because they're not producing milk as much as they would, but the production of milk has gone down dramatically. Right now, as far as what Vermont is doing, we are continuing to test raw milk at the holding tanks, the bulk tanks across Vermont. We hope to get to all our farms at least once a month. We've just started this process to make sure that Vermont is free of this. And one of the reasons we're doing this is USDA has mandated that the silos and the bulk tanks where milk is processed be tested. So milk moves around a lot. It goes from region to region. So milk that may be produced here in Vermont may end up in Pennsylvania. So that silo that's being tested in Pennsylvania, if they were to get a positive test, they would have to trace it back. How would they do that with the commingling of the milk? So we're being proactive to make sure that we are free here in Vermont. So we have that sampling program going across Vermont, and so far so good. We've had no positives, but it's been a significant increase in our workload in the dairy division, in the consumer division. Fortunately, USDA is financing this work, so they're providing the materials. We've had to put on some temporary workers to go around Vermont and get the samples. So fortunately, Vermont, the agency has not had to take on that because USDA has provided us the financing for that.
Thank you.
Rep. Stevens?
Thank you for that, Secretary. So practical effects of bird flu in milk, is it the worry that there will be transmission or to humans, or is it so a big preventative measure? And how is that different from what the dangers are of the bird flu with the eggs?
Yeah, the health and safety of all our workers, their working dairy is front and center. There have been a few cases across the country that it's workers have contracted this. Some of it is it's flu-like. Pink eye is another sort of symptom of it. So that's number one. Again, pasteurization is the key here. Pasteurization seems to kill the virus. That's 100 years old as well. So that seems to be working, but fortunately, and they believe it's being transmitted in the dairy side from animal to animal and mechanically. So, maybe a cow has it, is milked, and then the next cow comes in and it hooks onto the machine. It may be transmitted that way. But there's a lot of research is happening on this through USDA and FDA, and the CDC is involved as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Yep, Laroche.
We kill all the, say, hens in a barn that have bird flu. What's the policy for dairy cattle when they have it in a barn? They're not killing the cattle? Are they just
No
shipping milk and then waiting?
Yeah. There's a few regulations. So early on, and it's still in place, moving cattle from state to state, and these are lactating animals, so mature cows that are milking. So if you want to move a cow, say from Vermont to New York, you have to have it tested. and then it has to be clear before it can move to New York. So that's one thing that's happening to try to limit the spread. And I think maybe the Northeast animals do not move as much in the Northeast that they do in some other states. So that may be one reason Vermont has not had a case, or the Northeast hasn't had a race. And then, and the second part of your question was, Representative again, was what?
Or just how are they treating those farms? But
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
shipping, you're not shipping
Yeah,
milk off that.
Yeah, no, and the milk is taken out of production, and I think some of the studies said it's a 20% loss in production from the animals. So, some farmers may not be willing to take on that, and then they may not recover to their full potential. So they may be sent to slaughter, but they're able to still sell their milk as long as it's segregated.
The shipping, like moving cows from state to state, like Vermont's a tuberculosis-free state, so we can ship cows, right? So are they restricting shipment just from the states that have bird flu?
There's all kinds of USDA quarantine requirements, and if you tested positive on a herd, there's all kinds of requirements, both for that farm and then also in a surrounding area of that farm as well.
Thanks.
Okay, from bird flu to ticks.
Yep. All right. Back to the PowerPoint here. All right, and then this is our farm division. So mosquito and tick control. The number of pools collected went up this year. The percent of mosquito pools with triple E or West Nile virus went up very slightly. And I know that folks will be in different committees this year talking about triple E and how that was impacted last year and kind of forecast for the future, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in that. Number of mosquitoes collected and identified, 129,000 for 2024. Do we have any questions on farm before I move on to Vail?
Looks like we're good. Thank you.
Apologies, I can't see the room when I'm reading.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'll be happy to let you know. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. So for Vail, we look at the number of completed analytical tests for clients provided by Vail, which has gone up a fair amount in 2024 to 32,000. Percent of test results issued by Vail without recall or correction, we're at 99.78%, which I think is great. Number of unique Vermont-based projects who rely on Vail's analytical services for essential environmental monitoring, consumer protection, animal health, and regulatory compliance, 81. Water quality. All right. So the number of regulatory visits in 2024 was 234. Number of non-regulatory or technical assistance visits were at 1,274. Acres of production area inspected, 2,930 for 2024. Percentage of compliant production areas by acres, 67%. Number of educational events, 101 for 2024, and the value of on-farm implementation investments was over 10 million.
Investments would be, tell me, I don't want to guess. What would some water investments be?
Yeah, so we have a variety of programs within the water quality division that assist with that. One of them might be that somebody needs to build a new manure pit, or they need to update their infrastructure to make sure that runoff goes in a different direction. There's like a variety of different engineering tactics that folks can apply to our different programs for, and we have engineers on staff that can help them develop that and pay for that. And we do get a lot of federal match on those programs as well.
So would riparian buffer zones along the Otter Creek or something, that would be considered an investment like this?
That's part of consideration in the investments, yes.
Okay. Let's see any questions on, oh wait, Rep. LaRoche, you have a question?
Yeah, when you're talking production areas, you're talking just areas, the barnyard areas? Are you talking cropland? What's that?
It's a variety of things, but yes, I think primarily we're looking at production areas.
Yeah, the barnyard, what's surrounding the facilities.
Not the entire farm, because and are you doing this based on complaints, or do you have a systematic way of going about checking up on them?
Couple things. So it depends what space you're in as far as the size of your operation. So large farms, they're inspected at least once a year. And then the medium farms, once every 3 years. And then small certified, it's once every 7 years. But it's also complaint driven. So if there's a complaint that we receive, or either from the public or from an inspector, that may prompt a special visit.
So when we hear the farm has been inspected, then what they're doing is they're going to the barn locations and looking at the areas surrounding the barns.
Right, to make sure they're in compliance of the required agriculture practices, and that may be their nutrient management plan, inspecting their nutrient management plan. How they're applying manure and the nutrients. It may be buffer zones. It may be making sure the water is staying in place. All that is part of the routine inspection.
So they're not going out looking at all the cropland or anything like that.
They may go out and they do go out into the field and look for those, making sure that something is not running into a waterway, or maybe they may be looking at those buffers to make sure that they're at the right distance under the required agriculture practices. But they do a full footprint of the farm when they do an inspection. It's not just within the maybe the milking barn or the manure systems.
Thank you.
Carry forward.
All right. So carry forward as of September 2024. I can run through this and then I'm going to turn to Amy for questions on these. So administration, 50,000 funds approved by the Pay Act. Ag Dev, we have a variety of carry forward from working lands, farm to school, farm to plate, local foods and fairs. All of these funds are obligated through existing grant and contractual agreements. They just haven't necessarily been expended yet. And we do have multi-year projects across divisions. In farm, we do have a carry forward for mosquito control. And then in the water quality, we do have carry forward from different programs. But again, the funds are obligated through existing grant and contractual agreements, but we do a lot of multi-year projects.
Right. Okay.
One-time appropriation carry forward. So we have some carry forward through working lands grants here. Looks like ecosystem services, which I believe that those funds are also fully obligated. Organic milk and produce safety, conservation districts, charger inspections, and replacement of the existing food safety inspection database. We still have that in the works. And then Salvation Farms to expend access to locally grown food for all Vermonters, 100,000 there and carry forward.
So the EV charger, those are inspections that you're carrying out? Is that?
That's through weights and measures, yes.
Okay.
It's actually for the equipment to conduct the inspections.
So you're expecting you'll be using that for inspections. You'll get what you need. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Level 3 charger it's new technology, so we'll be using the remaining funds for that.
Okay. And the database sounds like, is that an IT project?
Yes.
Right.
So you're working with ADS on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the FY24 budget for the Act 78. Okay. Thank you. Now, is there more, or is that?
There's
we have
more.
we have another page, sorry.
Yep, we have another page of just one-time appropriations. These are the grants through working lands, the meat maple or the meat produce maple, sustainable job funds for independent retail grocers project and beef on dairy, dairy risk management assistance program, small farm diversification and transition program. And there's a few different reasons here. So a lot of the funds you'll still see like they're obligated through existing grant and contract agreements, except for, is it the dairy risk management assistance? So there are a number of farms remaining eligible to apply for the funds under this program.
So that grant program is still open and people can apply for it.
Correct.
Okay.
And that is it for our presentation. If you have any questions, I can go ahead and stop sharing so I can see faces now.
Rep Iacoboni?
Yes, thank you for all you do. You may have covered it, but I just missed it. Do we as a state have any goals in terms of the amount of food that we hope to produce ourselves versus food that we need to import to feed Vermonters?
Yes, we do. And it's, we work closely with the Farm to Plate Network and Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund. And they have some goals. I believe it's 30%. And we want to get 30% of our food produced by 2030, which is a very heavy lift. Some of the data that we currently have, I think we're below 10%. But they've done a really deep dive on where people are buying their food. And I think it's really, Vermonters are buying their food at some of the big retailers and some of the big retail change. But I would encourage you, if you want to, learn more about it, Ellen Kaler has done some tremendous work on this. And we're working with our partners across New England as well. It's not only Vermont, it's the region that we need to do a better job of trying to grow as much food as we can. Coming out of the pandemic, we learned a lot of lessons. There was a sort of a national foods policy, and we would like a regional one. And we can produce a lot of great food in Vermont, as we know, and we can get it to some of our bigger markets. But we also probably can do a better job of, producing more food for our neighbors right here in Vermont. But it takes investment, and it takes a commitment from a lot of folks. And a lot of times things are driven by, simply economics. But there is some great data with the Sustainable Jobs Fund and Ellen Kaler and Farm to Plate.
She works in your department?
No.
No, she's an independent, but we work closely with her. She's an independent operation, but
try to find her. With the extreme weather we're experiencing, it's more and more alarming. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ellen is the executive director of the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund, and she's often in the building. And if I see her around, I'll be sure that you.
She's on the list of people to talk to through my portfolio as well.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate coming in. Your agency wins the prize for the cutest animal pictures. We appreciate it. And baby animals included.
It's just grounded, and I encourage all of you to keep animals close to you or some Vermont food. But we appreciate all you're doing. I know you've got some tough decisions, but we're willing to do any follow-ups you have, and wish you all the best as you work through the process here.
Well, I know Rep Stevens will be in touch as he's the liaison, and our committee will funnel any further questions through him.
And Mr. Secretary, that's your backyard, right?
It is. It is not right now, though. We've got to, but we're getting there. We're getting there. It's at 5 o'clock.
In warmer days, yes.
We're getting
Not
there.
today, though. Not today. All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So committee, let's see, this is what I have for you. I have a public service announcement from Erin. She sent you the press release that includes the registration link. So if you want to send that to anybody, you can. It'll be, she sent it to the clerk, so it'll be on the General Assembly website as well. And Erin can also help if you need any copies for your prep for this afternoon on the floor. If you need anything for anything I'm gonna yield to you on, that would be great. And otherwise, I think that the only other time we'll be in committee is at 1 o'clock, Aaron, right? We have Adam on screen and Hardy in person to continue going over the language from 1 to 2:30. So we'll do that and I'll have a little break before the 4. So that is the day. Any questions?